Hi guys, I'm back. I feel like it's been forever since I filmed my last video. My hair is a mess. It has coconut oil in it, so it just kind of looks ridiculous. Anyway, it's another one of those videos where I'm so tired I can barely function. Anyway, I just wanted to make a video to talk about postpartum life and how I'm doing after my C-section. It has not been easy at all, to say the least. I'm not sure if in my last video I mentioned having a very heavy postpartum bleed or not, but I'm not going to go back and watch it now. Anyway, so after I was discharged from the hospital on day 5, I had a very heavy bleed where I couldn't stop pouring blood. So I went into hospital and I had an ultrasound. Everything looked okay, so I was discharged. And then I didn't bleed again for another week. Then, sure enough, a week later I had another very heavy bleed. And I ended up back in the hospital. And this has just kind of been happening on and off. So I had like 3 really heavy bleeds, and I mean like soaking through like 5 pads an hour, and it's just very, very scary as a girl when you can't stop bleeding, because if you cut your arm or like a part of your body, you can hold it to try and stop the bleeding. But when it's coming out of your vagina, there's literally nothing you can do, and you're just standing there like looking at this bloody mess pouring out of you, unable to do anything. And it gets really scary. Losing blood is really scary. Even if you're not actually losing that much, it can seem like it when it's coming out of your vagina, and especially when it's going into period pads and things like that. Oh, I kept hearing this weird noise, but I think it's someone outside. So, yeah, as I was saying, I was suffering a lot from bleeding. Then, since my last heavy bleed, I've just had continual kind of heavy-ish bleeding, which has honestly been more reassuring and normal than just like suddenly gushing after not bleeding. However, I'm now 3 weeks, 1 day postpartum, and I'm just like, how long am I meant to bleed for? Like, is it meant to stop anytime soon? I don't know. I think with my first baby, I bled for like 10 days. So, yeah, it's just a little like, okay, when is this going to stop? And I'm sure anyone can relate who's had a baby. It's pretty uncomfortable wearing a period pad day in, day out. Especially in a hot climate, it just feels disgusting and gross to like sit in a period pad, which is not really breathable. So yeah. And of course, you know, I've been following all of the guidelines, so I haven't had any intimacy in 3 weeks, and it's kind of sucks, honestly. Like, I know a lot of people say like when they give birth, they lose their libido. I mean, it's definitely gone down, but it's not gone, and so I am getting a little frustrated now, to be entirely honest with you. But obviously, I really want to be careful, so I think I'm probably going to wait the full 6 weeks, and especially, like, whilst bleeding, I'm not going to even try anything. So kind of TMI here, so if mom or dad are watching, like, don't continue to watch. But I want to talk about a concern that I have for the first time that I have sex. So I really hope there's no, like, kids trying to watch this. But anyway, I'm scared, like, to have sex for the first time, because of all the heavy bleeds I've had where I've ended up in the ER. I'm scared that even if the bleeding stops and I have sex at the 6-week mark, when they recommend, you know, it's fine to start having intimacy, I'm scared that it's going to start a heavy bleed. Because if I'm doing nothing and I'm having a heavy bleed, what about when I have sex? Like, how heavy could the bleed get? So I'm just honestly really scared. Like, I obviously want to have sex at the 6-week mark, but I'm also very nervous because I don't know if it will trigger a heavy bleed. It's my newborn. And I am also concerned that having an orgasm could be potentially bad. I'm like, is it gonna tear open my C-section from the inside? Because they say if you orgasm before 6 weeks, there's a risk that your C-section scar could open up from the contractions. And so I'm like, what if mine isn't strong and it just opens up? Like, I'm really being so paranoid and ridiculous. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that. I'm obviously not going to come on with a big like sex story time or anything, but I will let you guys know when I have had intimacy and like if I was okay or if I experienced bleeding. But yeah, it's just kind of sucked for me and my partner to not be able to be intimate. I definitely missed that bonding experience. Anyway, better safe than sorry. Aside from that, I wanted to talk about my postpartum body. So I lost almost 30 pounds after having my baby. I'm still not at the weight that I'd like to be at, but I'm also exclusively breastfeeding. And when I was losing weight quickly, my milk supply went down. And then as I started eating more calories and maintaining, my milk supply has been better. So I'm kind of like, I'm a little triggered and upset that I have to maintain this current weight because it's just a little like 10 pounds heavier than I'd like. But I'm also like, I need to put my baby first, so I'm gonna just put her first, and then, you know, maybe after the 6 weeks when I start exercising, I can lose a little more weight without going down in calories. But, you know, obviously my baby has to come first. Like, I'm going to be breastfeeding for like a year, and I'm going to have this body for a long time, so I can prioritize weight loss later. I'm just going to try not to gain. And another thing is that with the new postpartum body, I've definitely noticed that my tummy is a little softer, squishier, just generally less tight. So like after my first baby, my belly basically pinned back like an elastic band. Although I did always have that little kangaroo pouch in my lower belly, if you know what I mean, just miniature like bump. Anyway, after this baby, it kind of went back like a hair tie that's been used a few too many times. Like if you like stretch a hair tie, like it's supposed to go back right. But if you like use a hair tie too much, it kind of just stays like, yeah. I'll show you what I mean. To most people this is nothing, like I shouldn't even complain, but I will explain. So this is my tummy. This is my C-section actual scar. Anyway, so this is what I mean. Like it's just a little wobbly here, like jiggly jello. Like even though I'm generally quite slim, it's just kind of like a little mushy. And I did not have that after my first baby. Secondly, this is the kangaroo bump I'm talking about. It's definitely worse after 2 kids. It's a little bigger than it was before, and I'm guessing that's due to maybe swelling and scar tissue. So I'm really, really hoping that it goes down a little more. I don't want to permanently have like a bit of a bump there. But again, I made a beautiful baby and my body looks fine in clothes. I'm just kind of, I'm a little down because if my body stays like this, I'm going to be a little more anxious in a bikini on the beach. Anyway, my boyfriend is a personal fitness trainer, so I'm really hoping after I get out of the 6-week time period where you can't exercise, that maybe he can help me do some abdominal exercises that will tighten that back up. I don't know if it's possible. I think it is. I mean, there's always going to be something different there because essentially I had major abdominal surgery, but yeah, I'm just a little unhappy with that. But it's okay. Like, a lot of people have it worse off, and they have like a really big shelf like hanging over their crotch area. Anyway, in terms of like how I'm doing like mentally, I've definitely been struggling. I don't want to give some sort of self-diagnosis or anything like that, but I have felt sort of like I might have postpartum depression, and I have been talking to a doctor about it, so no worries there. Like, it's not like I'm at home like sad and not talking to anyone, and I'm not suicidal or anything like that. I've just been feeling a little more weepy and just like crying a bit more, and just kind of like just I've had a lot of anxiety. I'm an anxious person normally, but I find that I'm always anxious, and I always fear future events happening. Like, your newborn is supposed to have 6 wet diapers a day, and I find myself like, oh my god, what if today she doesn't have 6 wet diapers and we're in the hospital? Like, before something happens, I find myself like dreading events. Like, what if today's the day this happens? Like, I don't know. It's just, yeah. And another thing is, I've been exclusively breastfeeding, and it's been really hard because you can't see how much your baby is drinking, so I get more anxious in that aspect, because I don't always know how much she's drinking, and I get anxious that my supply isn't enough, although she has gained 1.5 pounds and she's now 9 pounds, so it's definitely enough, but I've been worried at times. And she's had like a couple strange things that have gone on. Like, one thing that started happening is her limbs keep randomly turning deep purple. Like, when she's in a few different positions, her arms or her legs will turn completely purple, like a dead limb, and it's very, very scary and freaky to see, and that left me quite anxious. I did speak to a doctor about it, and he said that he thinks it's absolutely nothing to worry about because it literally corrects in a few seconds. But it's really weird and alarming, and it definitely never happened with my first baby either. Anyway, I don't even remember what the other things were that I was gonna say. But in general, I'm just sleep deprived, which makes things worse. I'm tired, I'm anxious a lot of the time, and I have had some postpartum depression. And you know, adapting to 2 kids is really hard. I find a lot of days I go to bed crying, feeling like a failure, because my 3-year-old wants me to cuddle her to sleep, but then my newborn is always awake at the time my other kid wants to go to bed, and then I end up having to hold her because she's cluster feeding and she just wants to be on the breast all the time. And then my other child, my 3-year-old, goes to bed, and I'm like, I keep saying, oh, I'll come to bed and cuddle you soon, but then she ends up falling asleep before I get my newborn to sleep, and then I feel like a failure. I'm like, oh my god, I should have cuddled her to bed, I should have done more with my 3-year-old. It's really hard having 2 kids, especially when, you know, one of them is a newborn, because you feel like such a failure, and like your other kid is rejected because you just don't have as much time as you used to. And not to mention, my other child has been sick, so it's just made things so much worse. She wanted to come in my bed last night and cuddle all night, and I kept telling her she had to be out of the bed because I've been co-sleeping with my baby. Now, before you all go crazy, like co-sleeping this, that, I've been following all of the Lullaby Trust co-sleeping guidelines, like no bedding, no pillows, all of that. So my baby is 100% safe. Like, I'm not right next to her, it's just a bed with a sheet on, literally that. No bedding, so nothing to suffocate in. Anyway, I don't know what I was gonna say. There's just a lot to talk about when it comes to postpartum. I'm tired. I'm gonna end this video here, but that's how the past 3 weeks have been. Anyway, I'm absolutely in love with my little girl Sophie. She's really sweet, such a good baby. She rarely cries, and she's starting to become more alert. So far, her favorite thing is bath time. She seems really excited at bath time. She's smiling a little bit in the bath, but the rest of the time she just does it in her sleep so far. Anyway, and she's also really good at holding her own head up. She's not completely holding it up yet, but she's getting there, and it's really sweet to watch. I'm gonna end this video though because I'm so tired and sleep deprived. But that's my update. Bye.